you know, the scope just inspires a lot of confidence. Precision rifle scopes are pretty sophisticated tools. Now, when most people think about scopes, the first thing that comes to mind is optical quality. You know, everybody likes to obsess about the glass, and that is super important. You know, if you can't see what's downrange through your scope, then it's not of great use to you. But with a precision rifle scope, there's a lot more that goes into the equation. One thing that is important to remember is that a scope is a marksmanship tool, it's not an observation tool. So whereas we can really get granular about glass quality with like a spotting scope or a binocular, a rifle scope needs to be able to do so much more, and particularly a precision rifle scope where we're talking about longer shots under challenging conditions. So when you think about what makes for a good precision rifle scope, ergonomics is the kind of the term, the concept that I tend to focus on. How well does that scope interact with the user in the heat of the moment when you're trying to make that shot either under the time clock in competition or a difficult shot in the field on a game animal where you maybe have a fleeting opportunity. When you think about a scope in those terms, things like the smoothness of the controls, the legibility of the numbers so you can dial correctly, the design of the reticle, huge. Does it agree with the windage and elevation controls? Like, do they work in concert with each other? And does that reticle have enough utility to it so that if you need to account for the wind or if you need to place a follow-up shot, it's helping you accomplish that task? Now, when you really get into the minutia of it, all of these things start to have an impact. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at a scope for hunting or a pure competition or kind of a crossover scope. We've got all of them in this field, by the way. You know, all of that becomes super important. So what I've done here is I've gathered 10 of the best precision rifle scopes. These are scopes that I've had a lot of personal experience with and that I can vouch for. Some of them are on my hunting rigs, some of them are on my competition rigs, and some of them kind of do that double duty. You know, and if you find this information helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot, and we sure as heck appreciate it. All right. I have a real soft spot for Bushnell's Elite Tactical series of scopes. When I cut my teeth competitive shooting, these were the first scopes that I turned to because of their durability, affordability, and kind of smart ergonomics. And this latest iteration, this 6-36 by 56, this XRS3 kind of is in the spirit of those original ones that I fell in love with. This is a really cool scope. It's built on a 34mm tube, has very smooth controls, really kind of big, oversized numbers on the dials. It's got a push to lock windage knob, which is good. That gives you a little bit of extra security. Reticle has 10 different illumination levels. Now, one thing about this is a little bit of an older design, so the zero stop is a little clunky by today's standards. It's a, you know, sort of the old school kind of thing where you have to set a bunch of screws in there. The reticle, it's a simple reticle. It's not very cluttered, and it's useful, but it doesn't agree with the 0.1 mil increments on the elevation and windage turret. You know, it's still a lot of utility, but you know, there are a couple of those sort of older design elements that you know, frankly kind of show the platform's age. That said, it is built like a tank, it is super tough, and it is just one of the best values out there. It's got really nice glass, and man, you can get to work with this thing. The Trijicon Tenmile series is one of the best options for hunters looking for a long-range precision scope. It is one of the lightest scopes in this lineup, and it has a fairly diminutive size, so it is a really good choice when you don't want to be hauling a big old hunk of iron in the hills while you're chasing critters. This guy has a very useful magnification range, 5 to 25. It is an MOA-based scope, so for a hunter who is probably in that MOA world looking to get into the longer range stuff, this will feel a little bit more comfortable for that transition. It has a capped windage turret, which is what you want. You don't want that thing getting knocked off. The generously sized elevation turret, you know, turns easily, almost a little too easily. Now, this is one thing you always have to be aware of, is just making sure that your knobs aren't getting knocked off to where you don't want them. That's kind of the responsibility that goes along with using one of these tools. The reticle in here, very simple. It's got some hash marks on the horizontal stadia, and on the vertical, just graduated simply in different MOA increments. The magnification ring on this works very, very smoothly. The parallax is good. It's a little stiff, but not too bad. It's got an old school zero stop. You can set the zero stop. It's a little kind of a older design, but this scope is very simple, brings a lot of utility to the party. And again, for a hunting scope, to keep your rig a little bit lighter, this Tenmile series, this 5-25 is a great choice. Good quality glass, very useful reticle, simple. Yep. The Burris Eliminator 6 is the most fascinating scope in this lineup. It's unlike any of the others. Burris has been a long-time leader in having rangefinders integrated into scopes. So if you're familiar with the Eliminator line, you know what I'm talking about. This is the latest iteration of this. It's the newest version they just came out with. The thing that's kind of cool about this, it has super simple controls. There is a knob here with one big power button up top, and then a couple buttons to adjust the turrets. And once you get this thing set up, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You've got to load a ballistic profile into an app and kind of load it into the scope. But once you've done that work, this thing couldn't be simpler. All you do is you ping the target with that. The heads-up display gives you a yardage to the target, but the reticle has very fine LED illumination points, and basically it illuminates the point where you have to hold. One thing that's so cool about this is that even though it's a second focal plane scope, you know, so that the reticle seems to look consistent while you're moving up and down through the power range, it automatically adjusts the solution based on your magnification. So you don't have to do any kind of math or conversion or set this up to a certain power to make it work. All you do is power it up, point and click, and it's good to go. And you know, there's no better way to do this than to actually do a little bit of a live demonstration on this. So I've got this mounted on my Seekins SP10M, and you know, it has a little Bluetooth connection. You can either power it through the scope up there to get your thing, or you can mount the control unit on your rifle. So I'm picking a target out there, and it tells me it's at 288, and it gives me the dot there. So I'm going to shoot. Bing! You hear that impact? Okay. So now I go right from there to all right. There's a target much farther out there. That is 458. So the dot's a little bit lower. Boom, impact. It's just that quick, and it's that simple. So now I can transition back to a different target. Impact. You know, in terms of speed and precision, I'm not sure there's anything that really matches this scope out there. So for kind of fast shooting, competition stuff, and just kind of the cool tech factor, man, this Eliminator 6 is in a class of its own. This Zeiss LRP S5 is one of the most sophisticated and smartly designed precision rifle scopes out there. It's relatively new. It was introduced just a few years ago, and it really kind of set a new standard in my mind for the ergonomic qualities that I value so much in a precision rifle scope. You know, it's built to Zeiss quality with Zeiss glass. That's all beautiful. It's on a 34mm tube. It's one of the heavier scopes in this lineup. But you know, for mounting it on a precision rifle like this build I did in 25 Creedmoor, it's just the ticket. To appreciate this though, you have to really look at the details. Check this out. The elevation turret here has these really well-defined numbers. When you turn this, you have individual clicks, but when you get to the 1 or the 2, like each full mil, there's a stop and a detent. You can tactily feel it. And what that means is that, like, let's just say you have to dial in the dark. Well, you can actually, by feel, go, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mils. If I have to go 5.7, I can now just go back 1, 2, 3 without even looking. I know that I'm right at 5.7. That is a great feature to have in a precision rifle scope. The zeroing system on this is a little different. When you kind of loosen the screws to do it, it still clicks. It seems like you would be moving the reticle, but you're not. So there's a couple little things in this that you have to get used to, in terms of the operation. But man, is the reward worth it. It's got this just silky smooth parallax focus. It's got a really cool illumination system on a rheostat, so there's not different levels that you kind of click through. You just dial up the brightness and dial it down. The windage cap is a push to lock system, which is really handy. It came with this like nice throw lever, and again, big generously sized numbers on the ocular bell there, so you know exactly what the magnification is. There's even this idiot proof element here of showing you that when you dial this up, the bullet impact goes up, and the same thing on the windage. They really put a lot of thought into the ergonomics of this thing. It's just a great scope. The reticle too deserves mention. The reticle is beautifully designed. It's got all of kind of the smart features in terms of agreement with the clicks in there. It's got a bunch of good reference marks, a nice little very clear center aiming point, just a lot of great thought went into the design of this. It's a 5 to 25 by 56, great power range for all kinds of long range work. I just can't say enough good things about this Zeiss. It's the real deal. I run more Leupold glass on my rifles than any other brand. Unlike a lot of other shooters, I appreciate the balance of their scopes, the balance in terms of price, durability, glass quality, feature set. They just tend to very often hit that sort of Goldilocks, just right kind of medium. And this is their one of their precision rifle scopes. It's a Mark V HD. This is a 7 to 35 by 56, which is just a sort of an ideal range for magnification for long range work. And it's just a very, very well done scope. One of the things I love about it is how easy this thing is to set up and run. It's got one of the best zero stop designs out there. This thing could not be simpler to adjust and to use. It's got this detent that locks into place when you're at your zero. You just kind of set this thing where you want, just readjust the cap, and you're done. I mean, it could not be simpler. It's got good ergonomics. There's 11.5 mils per revolution on this. It's got big clear numbers, so you can see that when you're past that first revolution, you can see exactly where you are in this, so you don't get lost. Again, that zero stop, super positive, just hits right back. I think the way I have this set up, I've got about 18.5 mils of elevation on tap. Again, for any shot at even unreasonable distances, this is a fine option. The focus back here is smooth but kind of stiff the way you want it. The parallax, again, kind of silky smooth. All the controls on this work just great. Nothing's gonna move when you don't want it to, and everything stays in place. This is a mill-based scope, and it's got a Christmas tree type reticle. It's fairly uncluttered. One thing about it is that the graduation marks or the gradation marks in the reticle go from 0.25 to 0.5 to 0.75 mils. and it doesn't agree with the 0.1 clicks here. That's a small point. It's one that I get a little hung up on. Leupold designed it that way because they felt like it's a little less cluttered, and you can, run the reticle, run the scope faster, kind of to each their own. But, that's one thing to kind of take note of. The other thing that is just a little maddening, it's a small thing, for zeroing the windage here, they've got this zero mark up top here. It's really hard, at least for me, to get the thing to line up correctly. And interestingly, the trick to do it is to set the cap so that the Leupold logo is square to the horizon. That's one little thing I wish they would change. But other than that, man, I just love this scope. It is beautiful. The color on this champagne gold is just lovely to behold. I have this mounted on sort of my ultimate deer and elk rifle that I built for this season. I'm actually running Mark IV, which is one of their less expensive lines. Again, a very good line of scopes as well. But they're kind of their flagship product is still this Mark V HD, and my God, it's just a wonderful piece of glass. The first time I laid eyes on the Leica PRS, I didn't quite know what to make of it. Leica just wasn't the sort of the first name in my mind when I thought about tactical or long range scopes. But then I got to spend a little bit of time behind the glass, and man, did my tune change. This is a very, very capable long range precision scope, and it's one that we have really liked, and we've given it some of our top awards in the past. This guy is a 6-30 by 56 eye, because it has an illuminated reticle, and it's got a very kind of useful magnification range for all kinds of long range work. In terms of the details of how this thing, functions, it's got, these really generously sized elevation and windage knobs. The markings on it are really bold and clear. The clicks are super positive, so you can, there's no mush in them, so that when you go to dial a solution, you can feel very comfortable that you're getting good tactile feedback as you move up and down the elevation range. The other controls on it are also really good. The parallax focus is kind of smooth but stiff the way you want it. The magnification ring, again, it glides easily, but it sort of stays put. The illumination controls on this are not unusual. You have a number of different illumination levels with off position in between each level. So that's a really nice feature. Another really nice feature about this is that it's got a toolless zeroing and adjustment thing. These caps, unlike others that are often, you kind of have to undo an Allen wrench or something, it has this like little lift up tab that allows you to unscrew it and gain access to the controls beneath. And interestingly, there is a little tool within the windage turret there that is what you use to set the zero. So it's a really self-contained, capable system. The reticle itself is, it's one of like the lighter ones. It's sort of more faint than the others, and but it's still really, really functional. It has a center aiming point that's sort of an open circle, and especially when aiming at targets, I just love it. I think it's great. When you dial this thing down, it's a first focal plane scope. When you dial it down to a lower magnification setting, that reticle does kind of recede and to a point where you're not really able to work with it anymore. So if you're just kind of spotting or whatever, and you want a wider field of view and you crank down to 5, that's good. But chances are when you go to shoot, you're going to have it at a higher magnification setting. Other than that, this is just, it's just a really fine option. I've become very fond of this scope over the years. Great glass, good reticle, nice controls. There's just, it's a very solid contender in the top precision rifle scope field. The Nightforce ATACR 7-35 by 56 is, in my mind, kind of the benchmark for all of these precision rifle scopes. This has been such a sort of a category leader for so long, And, you know, the scopes that I think I admire the most are ones that kind of borrow heavily from this platform. Now, this guy's been around for a while, but it's still it's still right up there among the most elite precision rifle scopes you can get. The range adjustment 7 to 35 is great for competition like PRS, and I use mine in ELR. I also use it in NRL Hunter. This is an NRL Hunter heavy build I did. And really, it's just about ideal. The reticle in it, the Mil XT reticle, that is, you know, kind of my preferred reticle for most of the sort of practical, tactical field shooting stuff, is just one of the best out there. The design of it is so intuitive, so easy to use, and has just the right amount of kind of reference marks in there that I really don't think there's a better reticle out there. There's some that I think are kind of in its peer group, but none, in my opinion, that really exceeds it. Everything on this is super bomb-proof. You know, Nightforce is famous for the rugged durability of their scopes, and man, that is no joke. I have taken not this one, but another 7 to 35 ATACR of mine. I did a video where I was just at a range with rocks everywhere, and I was just tossing it down range, and man, that thing did not lose zero. It did not lose its collimation. I mean, these things are built to that level of toughness. Now, it's a heavy scope. You know, it's one of the heavier ones in the mix. I think it's just under 40 ounces. So, you know, where weight is a concern, you know, the Nightforce is a chunky son of a gun. But nonetheless, you know, that weight translates into its extreme durability. The glass in it's very good. The controls are just great. You know, the elevation turret just moves with these positive, smooth clicks, very easy to kind of locate where you are. The numbers are good sized on the elevation turret. The power magnification level setting, again, is smooth. One of the things kind of cool about this is that the whole ocular bell turns when you do the power. So it's like really easy to grab onto this in the heat of the moment and make that adjustment. One of the things that really does still separate this scope from the others is its close parallax focus. You know, this thing focuses down to about like, you know, 30 feet or so, which means that one, you can dry fire practice on little targets in your house, but also for like rimfire competition, where you might be on a range where targets are in close, having the ability to focus that parallax in that close is just a huge benefit. So, you know, there's a lot of great utility in this scope. I'm just, you know, crazy about it. And they've recently come out with it in this flat dark earth, which looks pretty damn good on my rifle, if I don't mind saying so myself. Now, one thing is that the zero stop on this, I'm so used to it, like it's second nature, but it is an old design and it's a bit clunky. You know, when you look at some of the better zero stop systems out there now, it is definitely outdated. But, you know, it's a small price to pay for everything else that this scope comes with. You know, at some point, you know, this thing is going to need a freshening up in terms of the design, but, you know, it has just been a category leader. It remains a category leader, and it is just one of the best precision rifle scopes you can get. It's that ATACR 7 to 35 by Nightforce with the Mil XT reticle is just the chef's kiss. The Swarovski Z8i 3.5 to 28 by 50 is one of the absolute best scopes for long range hunting. You know, for guys who don't want to kind of deal with the milliradian systems and all of the sort of the complexity of that sort of dialing, this thing is a simple but capable solution. Like all Swarovskis, the glass on it is just incredible. It's just beautiful, bright image. It's just crystal clear and just really just sort of a gorgeous, gives a gorgeous picture to your eye when you're looking through it. Now, the magnification range on this is just astounding. 3.5 at the low end. I love it. You know, on my hunting scopes, I like to have that low magnification option. I find it much more useful than keeping a scope cranked up. As much as I like the long range stuff, you know, there is you give up a lot if a scope only goes down to 7 or even 5x. You know, having something where you can crank it down to 3.5 just, you know, allows you to use this for close-up shots. It gives you a more generous field of view. You know, the advantages are numerous. And then obviously turning it up to 28, I wouldn't even recommend that for a hunting shot, but you have that on tap. So it's just this really kind of extremely generous magnification range that for hunters kind of in all sorts of situations is just gonna really serve the purpose. Now, this is a second focal plane scope. It's one of the only ones in this lineup. So the reticle doesn't change its apparent size as you go up and down the magnification range. So it's just as bright and sort of bold at 28 power as it is at 3.5. Now, in terms of dialing or dealing with a longer range shot, the way this works is that it comes with a ballistic turret system you can attach here, which essentially gives you 1 revolution of elevation on tap, in this case about 7 mils. And for people who aren't familiar, a 7 mil of elevation with like a 100-yard zero, depending on the cartridge, that's gonna get you out to 800, 900, sometimes even 1,000 yards. So, there's plenty of elevation on tap. So you take this ballistic turret system, you zero it, and then you have a couple of options. So I have this set up with these rings that are numbered that you can kind of graduate. So, in this case, 3, 4, 5, I can have this set up for a 300-yard shot, a 400-yard shot, a 500-yard shot. And then you can kind of interpolate between those numbers to, hold on to dial for a distance that's somewhere in the middle. Super simple. It's in many ways it's superior to like a custom ballistic turret you can get, because you can adjust this easily to match your conditions or load or whatever. You're not dialed into just one sort of set of elevation. It's a really smart, useful system. I've got this on a couple of my favorite hunting rifles, especially lightweight rifles. I just love Swarovski's ballistic turret system. It also has a really good, easy to use illumination setting here. It's just a toggle switch that, there's a light setting and a brighter setting, and you can kind of adjust each. And again, this scope is just idiot proof. That's what's nice about it. Of course, it's one of the spendier ones in the test. It is a Swarovski after all, but really it's just got so much going for it. Oh, one last other feature I want to mention, in addition to the parallax focus there, this actually is able to turn and lock the turret. So, I've talked about how you've got to be careful about having your turret stay in place and be mindful you don't want to get it knocked about. Well, here what you can do is you can set it to whatever the setting is, the range, and then with a quarter turn of this little wheel down there, that locks the turret in place, and now that elevation isn't going anywhere. Again, smart, well thought out. Great for the person who wants to be capable at longer ranges but doesn't want to go down the rabbit hole of all the technical kind of tactical stuff. This ZAI is just a fabulous hunting tool. The Kahles 540i is legitimately a game-changing precision rifle scope. It has a field of view unlike any other on the market. And what that translates into is the ability to see a lot more downrange, or to dial in to a higher level of magnification and see equivalently more that another scope might have at a different power setting. So for example, when I have this set at 25x, 25 magnification, I have a 20 mils of view across the reticle. Compare that to, like, say, the Leica PRS that I like so much. At 25x, that's giving me 15 mils. That extra 5 mils is a massive difference. What that lets you do is have that much more ability to spot your hits and misses, and that, in terms of sort of high-end competition, is an incredible advantage. Beyond that, though, this is also just a very well appointed scope. The 5 to 40 magnification range, super useful. It's going to cover any scenario you could possibly imagine in the sort of practical precision rifle world. The controls and ergonomics on it are just really, really good. The turret for elevation and windage have very positive clicks. This thing has, I think, 10 mils per rotation. It's got a little rotation indicator that pops up when you go past one rotation. You know, a very nice feature. Now, neither of these are locked, the turrets, so that's something to be aware of. But again, they're stiff enough that getting them inadvertently, you know, kicked out of place probably isn't going to be that big a concern. And the windage knob is that much more tight and kind of stiff, you know, sort of decreasing that likelihood. But that is one thing to note about this. It's got a really nice illumination system on the side. It's a rheostat system. You just dial it up and dial it down to you know, put as much illumination into the reticle as you want. And speaking of the reticle, it's got a Christmas tree design, very minimalistic. You know, it's done in 2/10 mils increments, which matches up nicely with the 0.1 mil increments on the elevation turret. So everything kind of works in harmony there. Now, the numbers in the reticle are a little small for my taste. That's a small thing to note, but you know, really not a big deal. In terms of running the scope, probably the most different thing is this parallax focus, which is located beneath the elevation turret there. Now, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you kind of get comfortable with the system, it's really not that big a deal. I've been running a lot of Kahles scopes over the years. I've got a 624 I that has just been a solid scope for me for a long time. One thing about it is that it is very expensive, you know, which is not surprising, but you get a lot of really good performance for the money. Kahles has a little bit of a reputation in terms of how durable the scopes are. You know, some people have, you know, kind of slammed them for being fragile. You know, I can't really speak to that. I've been running, you know, my scopes, you know, for a long time and hard, and I have not experienced those issues personally. So not saying they don't exist, but at least in my experience, that has not been a big issue. So anyway, the Kahles 540i, game-changing precision rifle scope, amazing field of view, and just one of the best pieces of glass out there. The Vortex Razor HD 6-36 is just one of the most perfect precision rifle scopes out there. It's got a couple of really innovative features that kind of set it apart from some of the other scopes in the field. One of the main things is that the way this thing zeroes, it has a infinite zero adjustment on it. What that means is that, you know, sometimes you might be caught with your zero between one click or another. This scope actually gives you the ability to kind of smoothly dial to whatever fraction of, in this case, 0.1 mil you need to get a super exacting zero. You know, so for the technically obsessed shooting nerd, which I'm one, you know, that's a great, gives a lot of peace of mind. Beyond that, you know, there's really nothing, there's nothing on this scope not to like or be impressed by. The controls are all excellent. It's got these pop-up locking turrets with really positive, strong clicks. Same thing with the windage. It locks, you know, pushes in to lock, so it's not going anywhere. The parallax focus, also incredibly smooth and easy to use. And like the ATACR, this guy focuses really close, like within 10 yards, so that if you're you know, dry fire training in your house or shooting a rimfire precision match, you know, this thing will stand up to all of that use. The magnification knob, again, very kind of smooth and easy to manipulate. It's got the numbers kind of raised on this sort of beveled edge so you can easily see from when you're on the scope. You know, it's touches like those that really enhance the ergonomics of this. It's got an etched glass reticle, Christmas tree design, really smart configuration on it, and 2/10 mils with actually 0.5 mil, 0.5 mil marks as well along the horizontal stadia. So all the reference points you need for hold over and hold off, this guy has it. You know, it's a big beefy guy. It's one of the heaviest precision rifle scopes in the field. It's also, you know, probably the most expensive, or just about anyway, but it delivers a lot of performance. You know, this is very high end, very top of the line. You know, we're talking about all the best precision rifle scopes in this video, and this guy certainly deserves a place right up at the top. So there you have it, my top 10 precision rifle scopes. You know, for every application that I like to shoot at distance, hunting, competition, training, whatever, you know, there's a scope or two in here that's going to get the job done. Now, I'm sure you're going to have your own opinions on this. Holler in the comments, you know, let me know what you think. You have any scopes that weren't in here that you wanted to see, any ones that, you know, again, personal favorites of yours. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. But anyway, these are my top 10. I'm sticking by them. All of them have good ergonomics. They represent a lot of quality for the price, and some of them are just super innovative. A lot of interesting glass here, and I hope you found this useful.